The Nintendo Switch 2 Direct gave us a look at a multitude of upcoming first and third-party games coming to the system, such as Mario Kart World and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. In addition to this, not only is Legend of Zelda Wind Waker coming to the Nintendo Switch Online GameCube emulator, we are also getting remastered versions of both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which contain enhanced graphics and frame rate, as well as a boatload of additional features that I covered in my latest video. You would think that this is all there was for Zelda in this Nintendo Direct. However, out of nowhere, Nintendo revealed Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. This game is of course a successor to Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, which was released back in 2020. The game took you through the great calamity that took place before the events of Breath of the Wild, showing you the ins and outs of the struggle Hyrule faced when confronting Calamity Ganon. Although, this is not entirely true. Age of Calamity at first seemed like a true prequel to Breath of the Wild. However, it turns out this game went down its own path. The game starts by showing you a little Sheikah Guardian by the name of Terrako, time travelling back to before the Great Calamity, which in turn completely changes the events of the story leading up to Breath of the Wild. Eventually, this leads to an ending where Hyrule actually defeats Calamity Ganon, completely avoiding the 100 years of ruin. And now, Hyrule Warriors has officially returned with Age of Imprisonment, which will let us experience the story of the Imprisoning War, the ancient battle that took place a little after the founding of this era's Kingdom of Hyrule, in a time almost forgotten by everyone. As shown in Tears of the Kingdom, this was the era in which Princess Zelda was transported to after she conflicted with Ganondorf in the present. In this familiar yet unknown land, Zelda finds herself meeting with the first King of Hyrule, Rauru, and the first Queen of Hyrule, Sonia. Princess Zelda steps up to a crucial role within the war between the Demon King, Ganondorf, which ends in her sacrificing herself so she can return the Master Sword to Link in the present. The reveal of this game was so unexpected, yet it was something that made complete sense due to the success of Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. Anyway, let's now go through the trailer and discuss everything presented to us to see what exactly this game could mean for the story told in Tears of the Kingdom. The trailer begins by showing us the murals found deep beneath Hyrule Castle within the opening act of Tears of the Kingdom, depicting the story of the Imprisoning War. The story of the Imprisoning War begins with one of the Zonai, an unknown powerful race descending from the heavens to the land soon to be known as Hyrule. With them, they brought a tear-shaped stone known as the Secret Stones, which were capable of increasing the abilities of its bearer. The Zonai known as Rauru decided to marry a Hylian priestess by the name of Sonia. Both of them established a relationship with one another, and later went on to found the Kingdom of Hyrule. However, the newly established kingdom was thrown into disarray due to the King of the Gerudo, Ganondorf, killing Queen Sonia and taking a secret stone for himself. With this newfound power, Ganondorf transformed himself into the Demon King, an unstoppable force that was set on nothing but the destruction of Hyrule, so he could take the newly found kingdom for himself. As seen in Tears of the Kingdom, the Imprisoning War ends with a showdown between Ganondorf and King Rauru, which took place in a hidden shrine underneath Hyrule Castle, known as the Temple of Light. Even with King Rauru's reinforcement of sages, who all held their own secret stone, the Demon King still seemed too powerful to defeat. Rauru was left with one option: to stop Ganondorf's takeover of Hyrule. He gave his life, using the power of light, to create a seal which should hold down the Demon King until a time when somebody can defeat him. This is why within Tears of the Kingdom's opening minutes, Zelda and Link discover Ganondorf's withered vessel underneath Hyrule Castle, still held in the exact place where he was sealed. The next scene within the Age of Imprisonment trailer shows Zelda holding a secret stone in her hand. This is the stone which fell from Rauru's hand at the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom. Once Zelda obtained this stone, a latent power to control the flow of time was awakened, allowing her to survive a fall that should have otherwise been fatal by travelling to a time long forgotten. After this, Zelda runs towards King Rauru and Queen Sonia, which all seem to be making their way towards this era's Hyrule Castle. The only time we have seen this castle is briefly within a memory from Tears of the Kingdom, where we can see it was placed here on the Great Plateau. The next clip in the trailer is almost a direct match from the first memory shown within Tears of the Kingdom, where Zelda first wakes up in the past and introduces herself to King Rauru and Queen Sonia. This memory ends as Zelda realizes she was transported to the past. However, in Age of Imprisonment, there seems to be additional dialogue between all of the characters. This is then followed by Zelda walking with Rauru and Sonia as the group head towards Hyrule Castle. At this moment, it seems that the player is actually able to control Zelda, which means there is a possibility that we will be able to play the sections in between memories from Tears of the Kingdom. In the next scene, we see Zelda's first impressions of Rauru's Hyrule Castle, where we can also see the balcony on which Ganondorf stood when he transformed into the Demon King. We can also see banners dangling from many areas of the castle, as well as a tall structure standing in the background. This structure to me looks like it could be some sort of watchtower, maybe similar to the Skyview towers that you can use within Tears of the Kingdom. This closer look at Rauru's Hyrule is interesting to see, as in Tears of the Kingdom we did not see many structures from this era of Hyrule. The trailer follows by blacking out, with the text, "The story leading into Tears of the Kingdom." I believe that this line is supposed to indicate to us players that the story we experience is precisely the same as the one set up within Tears of the Kingdom. I will go more in depth later on, as the line is more important to this game than some may think. After this, we see Rauru standing under a blood-red sky. He is holding a Zonite spear, very similar to those found within Tears of the Kingdom, except Rauru's spear emits a yellow glow, indicating he is fueling his spear with his power of light. We see Rauru going head to head with Ganondorf's minions, in that familiar gameplay style that all Hyrule Warriors games have. We get our first look at Rauru's attacks, which seem to consist of a sweep, a jab, and a slam that causes an explosion of light, decimating all foes within its radius. Now we see Rauru use the ability known as Ultra Hand to extend the spear from his hand towards the enemy horde. He then begins to spin the spear in a circle, whilst trailing it through multiple enemies surrounding him. In Tears of the Kingdom, Link's ability to use Ultra Hand was of course given to him by the power within Rauru's arm, so considering that Link was only able to use a fraction of Ultra Hand's power, imagine how interesting using the full capabilities of the power will be when playing as the original wielder himself. Now we see a shot of Ganondorf smiling, with his head resting on his hand. This shot brings back vivid memories of Ganondorf from Twilight Princess, as he sits in a very similar pose. This has me hoping that we will see more of Ganondorf's personality within the game, as in Tears of the Kingdom we saw very little. The next scene shows Minoru, Rauru's sister, riding away from a fox in the depths. She is holding a Zonite weapon similar to Rauru's, as well as sitting atop a wheel, serving as a small vehicle. She then summons a Zonite construct, and uses rockets to blast the fox. This construct seems to be the same as the construct boss, which Link fights within the Spirit Temple. Considering Minoru is portrayed as an inventor within both Tears of the Kingdom and this game's trailer, it leads me to believe that she will serve a similar purpose to that of Impa in Age of Calamity, by creating different Zonite tech, which she will use in battle. We now see a shot of Rauru's hand, secret stone and all, clenched as the blood-red glow engulfs the background. This gameplay shows Zelda using her time powers, which are now magnified due to her carrying a secret stone. She also uses the power of light, which she trained to use within Age of Calamity and Breath of the Wild. This means that Zelda may very well incorporate other attacks with both light and the power of rewinding time to destroy any foe in her way. The next shot is of the 7 sages, standing side by side in an unknown location, which could very well be the Forgotten Temple, where Rauru gave each sage their secret stone. For those not aware, the sages are a Goron, a Zora, Minoru, Rauru, Zelda, a Gerudo, and a Rito. Tears of the Kingdom never tells us who most of these sages are, so I'm hoping that Age of Imprisonment fills the gaps in between their origin, so we can build more of a connection to these characters, as their personalities within Tears of the Kingdom are very shallow. In the final gameplay shot of the trailer, we see Zelda and Rauru fighting together. They place their hands together, unleashing an explosion of light. Strangely, a second before the attack, you can see both Rauru and Zelda standing in the background. By the looks of it, this seems to be a teammate attack, which requires different characters to come together to unleash a devastating blow. I'm hoping this adds extra depth to the gameplay within Age of Imprisonment, as many players gripes about Age of Calamity, with that the game is very button mashy, so having extra variation in attacks could be enough to keep players engaged with this game. Now we finally get to see the game's official logo, with a creepy mural of the Demon King Ganondorf looming behind the words, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment. This trailer left me in absolute shock when I saw it for the first time. One of the biggest issues I had with Tears of the Kingdom is that there is so much story about the Imprisoning War that was left untold, such as the construction of Raru's kingdom and Zelda's adventure within this unknown world. If this game goes in the direction it seems it's going, then it looks like we will get to experience the Imprisoning War in its entirety, as well as see Zelda's full perspective after being transported from the present within Tears of the Kingdom. To some players, Age of Calamity's branching story was quite a disappointment. They wanted to know the ins and outs of the Great Calamity, to see Hyrule's failure with their own eyes. However, in the trailers leading up to the game, Nintendo marketed it as a story set 100 years before Breath of the Wild, which tricked almost everybody, as it was expected that we would experience the story leading into Breath of the Wild. But of course, Age of Imprisonment could still decide to go down its own path and tell a story different to what we were told within Tears of the Kingdom. Whilst this would be disappointing, it's not like the story being that different could heavily impact the Imprisoning War's outcome like it did within Age of Calamity. This is due to Hyrule actually being victorious within the Imprisoning War. Regardless of the decision, this game leaves us with so many options for exploration as well as boss fights, as we did not know much about the Imprisoning War to begin with. I am still hoping that this is the exact story leading into Tears of the Kingdom, because there was so much setup, yet still so much unknown about what took place within the Imprisoning War. But what do you guys think? Are you excited to see what's in store within Age of Imprisonment? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.